Alright, so I got something a little bit different than usual today. Right now I'm working on making a quilt. Never made one before, but I had some shirts that were my little brother's before he passed away, and had the idea to make them into a quilt for my mom and my dad. So it's another hobby. I sew and stuff. I actually did all the upholstery on my car, so I'm just gonna bring you along with. That is probably the luckiest time I've ever run out of thread, is right at the end of that stitch. It's nice when that happens. So I've always liked sewing, like ever since I was a kid. I used to sew at my grandma's. She was not that big of a sewing person, but she had a little sewing kit that we would get out and make little pillows and stuff like that, random bits. So I've always had a fascination with it. Didn't actually get a sewing machine until I was in my teenage years, really. Like, I think I didn't get one until college, actually. And then I bought one and started doing more just random sewing stuff. But, you know, one of those things that I thought was kind of over my head was making a quilt, and just because, I mean, there's a lot to it. But, I mean, there's been so many projects that I've done over the years that were over my head until I actually got into it. And by no means do I know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. Just like pretty much everything else I do. Say, yeah, just dive in head first, and if it doesn't work out, yeah, try something different. So I actually bought this sewing machine for when I was doing the upholstery on my car, and I got it for basically free. It was like, I don't know, like, I want to say it was like $40 I paid for it, but it's a heavy duty grade sewing machine and can actually sew through like leather and stuff like that, canvas, whatever you need it to. But the problem that it had, and probably why I got it so cheap, was the lady that I got it from couldn't figure out why she kept breaking needles and stuff like that, and it just wouldn't sew right. So I figured it out pretty quickly. It was just the timing on this, like when that needle comes down and that bobbin's coming around, it just was off. Like, and all I had to do was take this off, and there was a gear in there with a couple set screws, and it was just one of the set screws was actually loose on it, and it just got jogged over, you know. And it doesn't take much because it's a small shaft in there, so even just like a couple degrees turn on that is going to amount to quite a bit on the end of that, where that catches that thread. And so it was it was just catching in the wrong spot, and that's probably why she was breaking needles. But I got that all figured out now, and I sewed all the seats for my charger on this, and I've been sewing all this, like, and, you know, it's not to say I don't have like some problems sometimes with it, but it works pretty good. Yeah, working on a sewing machine is no different than working on a car. You evaluate what the issue is and go down the list until you figure out what was actually wrong. Same thing with like doing tension and or actual mechanical problems. You got to make sure that you do the maintenance on it and grease everything, and I mean, they'll last a long time if you keep up on all that stuff. And of course they work a lot better when you maintenance them. I mean, it's nice to have the internet nowadays. Like, if you do buy a secondhand machine and it's got no manual or anything like that, so many people have uploaded manuals online that it's really easy to find and print out a new manual for it. That's what I did. I actually got the service manual for it online and printed it out. I'm sure there's somebody, well, who knows, I'm sure there's really not that many people that are going to see this, but if somebody out there sees this that does know quilting really well, I apologize. Like, I know I'm probably butchering this. I'm not, I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't care. Like I said, I mean, this kind of stuff doesn't cost me nothing, it's just time. And it's been rainy out, and I'm at the point where I gotta pull the car out of the bay and do a few things outside, but with it raining, I just don't want to do it. Don't want to work. So, just do something else that's productive. Besides, my dad and my mom's birthdays are coming up, and I'd like to have this done for them by then. Another line down. Tack that up on the wall. So basically, I'm just doing all the rows because I'm making 2 quilts at the same time, but I'm gonna make them the same patterns. So I'm just making the whole pattern like until I run out of squares, Because honestly, I was being lazy and kind of didn't calculate exactly how big they were going to be. So I just wanted to use up all the fabric I've got. And then I'll use this other jersey, or no, it was not jersey, but flannel, cotton flannel that I picked up from Joann's Fabrics. And so I'll use that as the backing. And then I've got a wool inner felt that's going to go in there. But I figure after I get all these put together, then I'll figure out the actual dimensions. I mean, they're basically going to be like a lap quilt. Like, they're not going to be that big because I don't have that many fabric squares, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, I guess it's more of the kind of the thought that counts kind of deal on this project. Wanted to do just something relaxing. Kind of doesn't require a lot of thought, but you get a good sense of accomplishment like doing it, just because you see it come together pretty quickly. It's pretty tedious cutting this all out. I don't think I even said how I did it, but I just had an aluminum plate and my rotary cutter, and I just cut around that. You got a template, got a cutter. There are, fancier ways to do it, but I've found that was really easy. Well, of course, I had a random plate of aluminum that was approximately the size that I wanted in the shop. I don't think most people have that, so that's probably just me. For most people, it's probably gonna be easier to get. They might even have like actual templates like at the store that you can cut around. Or I know I've seen like these like frame deals that you can use, or there's those ones where it's like the straight edge and it's like the cutter's built inside of that you just draw it. But the only thing I don't like about that is, well, then you got to actually measure out to each one. And it's like, well, with that, I can just pop it down onto whatever fabric it is and just cut around it really quick and not even think about measurements. It's just there. So you're going to have the same squares each time without thinking about it. And a guy could actually, you could cut one out of wood or something like that. I suppose you'd want to be careful and make sure your edges are, actually square. And that way you aren't just like all over the place. These are actually kind of like slightly rectangular, which is fine because, well, a blanket's rectangular. So I'm just having the longer end of that go along with the length of the blanket. So it works out just fine. It'll be fine. Did I do it again? Yes, I did. Darn it! That's what happens when I try to talk while I'm doing this. I don't even know if anybody cares if I talk or not, but basically just talking to myself, which is kind of weird, but whatever. And yes, I just keep throwing those on the floor. I don't have a trash can down there. I need to sweep anyways. Basically, it just makes my hair look, my floor look like it's got a bunch of hair on it. Because it's like a dark blue floor, and these are a light gray thread. So it shows up pretty well. Don't bother me none. Did I go too far? Yeah, I did. That's fine. Oops. See, I got talking and I didn't realize it. It's really annoying. So what I did was, I've been doing 7 squares. I haven't finished my coffee yet. Where did I put my coffee? Oh, it's hiding behind my machine. So yeah, I did 8 squares. It's supposed to be 7. Now I got seam rip that. That's annoying. I hate seam ripping. Especially with like thinner fabrics, because it's really easy to just tear them up while you're seam ripping. I'm sure there's somebody that's a lot better at it, but the problem is I just don't have patience to do it properly without tearing it up, and so I end up tearing it up. But I'll try to have more patience and just do it right. Except I won't do it right because I don't really have a seam ripper. I'll just use like I think I usually just use tweezers. But so yeah, I just knotted up what I needed to knot up. Not it. Let's see. Oh, that did it. Let's see. Where's my fancy seam ripper? So yeah, I just used a pair of tweezers. Because like I said, if I use anything else, then I'll just destroy it. But it'll be fine. It's just another little tedium now I gotta deal with. It's easy to just get on a roll and just keep on moving along with it, and that's usually when you make a mistake. This one bothers me less than, like, yesterday I put one where the seam was coming this way instead of back, and that was more annoying because that one should have been more obvious to me, because like this one it was put on correctly, but it was just I had too many in the line, so just gotta take it apart. And I'll keep moving forward. It's not that big a deal. All fixed. I'd say I won't do that again, but I probably will. Now that all these are, the individual squares are in the rows, I'm gonna get the rows put together on this one. I already actually did one. I started filming, or at least I thought I did, and it didn't save, so I finished that one already, and now I just need to do this one. Should go pretty quick. Get the camera set up and get moving on it. good for it. I was telling my parents, don't mind that it smells like beer. They know me. It's fine. Alright, I gotta do a little bit of setup and then get the batting and the back end put on. So I'll get going on that. Alright, so this part I'm gonna be putting 3 pieces together here, so I'm actually gonna be pinning everything. I've been doing everything freehand up until now, but with trying to get 3 pieces together, if I don't pin it, like, I'm gonna have a heck of a time. So this is gonna take a little bit just to do the prep work. Now I gotta start sewing. It's gonna take a minute, and I'm gonna get stabbed a million times because every time I use a sewing machine with pins, I get stabbed. It's alright. I'm used to it. I cry a little bit though. Alright, so I got all 3 layers put together. Now I'm just gonna do a yarn stitch to tie the center in. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the end of it. I mean, it's not rocket science. There's, you know, 1,001 ways to do this, and how I do it might not be how the next person does it. Like I said, I kind of just made it up. I've had like mini quilts over the years myself, but never made one. I didn't really look into how to make it. I just decided this was how I was going to do it. And I think it turned out okay. I think my mom and dad will like it, regardless of the quality. So yeah, done making a couple of these quilts. Yeah, didn't turn out too bad. I like them. I'd probably do it again. Probably do things a little bit differently if I did do it again. But I like the pattern. I think all the fabric feels nice. And the stitches are a little sloppy on the edge, but this way she goes. It'll still be a blanket. Not gonna fall apart. I mean, the stitches are sloppy, as in they're just kind of like like a drunk did them or something. But as far as them holding together, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, I'm gonna get these boxed up and sent to my parents, and hopefully they like them. All right. Thanks for watching.